Okay, it's part three. Don't even know how long these sections are going to be, but how many it's going to be, but possibly this will be the last one. This sort of section. Where did I leave off? Well, after I came back from America and been trying to rebuild myself and my values and self-esteem. I've always struggled to have or maintain. And when I have, it's always been in the wrong things. I realise that now. It's like I've never had it inside me. It's always been what others think of me. It's, like I said, beginning very young age, I was taught to that I had no value, and that's stuck to where it's a core belief that I subconsciously undermines everything else in my life. And has continued to do so for my whole 40 years on this planet. This core belief that I'm unworthy, failure, and ultimately completely unlovable. Which prevents me being honest and open with people, and causes me to hide and fear and run from my mistakes, and to the point where I deny they even happen and pretend that they're not happening. And that's something I'm going to go into more in this video, because that's where it's that sort of thing is completely escalated with this sex addiction rather than the porn addiction. Yeah, after coming back from America and stuff I mentioned in the last video, the end, spent a long time just trying to believe in myself somewhat. Like I said, I always had those core values rather than core beliefs that I that held my integrity together and held me together, that was open and honest and wore my heart on my sleeve, and that I never lied. Although now looking at my behaviour going back, there was still deception in that I was hiding parts of myself out of either self preservation or misguided thought that I was protecting other people, and really it's just a fear of the shame of those memories and feelings that ultimately makes me not want to open up and express them. And ultimately at the core of all my hate. But and when I came back, it was, like I said, it was a couple of years of rebuilding, while not being aware of what's underneath, in reality, and why I felt the way I did, etc., and what had caused the problems. So I was always building every time on foundations that were always going to fall apart. Even though I had this confidence grow that I've got these core values, so, and they're integral to who I am, and they'll never be broken. You could say a false pride that never do certain things, fail in certain ways. Sure, what's happened is ultimately one of the things that's crushed me more than any other time as things have happened, is that I've destroyed myself this time, as well as someone else. It's me that's the one that's hurt people, not me being hurt. It's something I thought I would never do. Like so my behaviour is abusive now, in this stuff going forward. Which, when you've been abused and spent your life hurt, you think you'd never do that, yet some messed up reasoning. It seems to be a recurring thing for people who are abused, that they end up abusing later in life. And it's yeah, and like I said in my previous videos, I've always been on the receiving end of a lot of heartache and pain, and never thought I would ever cheat on someone. Never ever entered my mind. At the other points, up until this part, and completely went against all my values, which all this behaviour went against my values, which just against like who I am, and so it's destroyed who I am and how I feel about myself. So it's a whole new level of hell, to be honest. Anyway, after this period of trying to rebuild myself, I started probably for about 5 or 6 months attempting to date. There's Christian dating sites, and spend time getting to know people, on the sites or on the and then on in like video calls, etc. And yeah, if we get to a few dates, but then there would be another one. I was always because I was honest about my previous relationships and what it's done. People didn't want to be with me. Didn't see me as someone worthwhile. Someone who's damaged or not for them. And investing all that time and effort in those sites was ultimately this left me right back where I started, thinking that I'm not worth no one's ever going to love me. And the first time in my life, I completely not just gave up, but because I've done that before, Penny, but decided, in contrast to my beliefs, values rather, that if I can't have love and it's never going to happen, then why not explore sex? And I separated the two, which had already started, sort of was done with the porn addiction. But this was sort of a unconscious choice that I was aware of, and that I'd given up, and I was just gonna enjoy what I could, despite the fact that in hindsight it was the worst choice. But that gave me a freedom, a sense of freedom, that I no longer have to worry about trying to impress anyone or trying to spend time investing in them. And coupled with the effects of porn addiction, which I will go into a separate video, which include objectification and just a whole messed up view on sex and intimacy and relationships. I ignorantly and naively decided that I would just go on and explore what was out there, which opened a whole world of things that are can of worms and Pandora's box that I wish I'd never opened. And yeah, I started going on hookup sites and and for the most part I was just chatting, and it rebuilt my self-esteem to know these people who were attracted to me. That multiple people were, that it wasn't just they were physically interested in me, if nothing else. And that fear of intimacy didn't have to be an issue. So I explored that. Not proud of that, but that's where I was at the time. And yeah, I mean, I even at this point, I didn't have many people I met one or two before finding a specific website that I kind of made a home and chatted on regularly every day. And eventually just started meeting people on that site. Again, I wouldn't say it was many, it was maybe 2 or 3 that I actually met up and had any relations with. But I'd meet people socially, and ironically enough, during this time I'd have friends off the things, friends of friends, group, social circles, and I'd turn it down because I guess that's the cut off there, where it was like they were friends and people I knew, so I couldn't use those people, even though that in what I was doing, both parties were using each other, whether consciously or not. Then I was on that particular site for probably 6 months to a year, and I met my future wife during this period, and we were both aware of what was going on, became friends. Before we ever met, we were probably talking for 6 months to a year, and yeah, she knew more or less. I didn't tell her all the details of my previous stuff, because at this point I'd decided that clearly all of that past was never going to be accepted by anyone. I had so much shame attached to it, I just buried it and ignored it, minimized it. Some of it was too painful to even acknowledge, such as the abuse. I hadn't even acknowledged that to myself. The only time I ever brought that up was with my best friend, and in that case it was just my first sexual experience. Didn't say when it was, didn't say how it happened, why, what was going on. I'd normalized it, and it wasn't abuse. From a child's perspective, it was a completely different thing. It wasn't until I was getting older that the effects of that really started to affect me. And so that was never something I brought up with anyone. Just like any of the rest of the stuff I used to keep hidden. And then, I didn't realize, but I was slowly falling in love with my future wife. Wasn't hiding anything from her at that point, other than what I was hiding from everyone. In terms of the abuse in the past, and she knew I'd had that bad relationship. I didn't go into details. Again, this was never really a conscious thing. I think it was subconscious, trying to avoid shame with it, and the fact that it had done so much damage. The fact that scared people off. And as we were just friends, and like I hadn't told any of my other friends or anything, at that point, I didn't see a reason to do so to someone else. Um, and obviously, a couple of my best friend, he knew some of that past, but I never talked to him about it much more than just the pain that it had caused me. And yeah, I felt good about myself, but not realizing that I wasn't I wasn't depressed. Had this exciting life where people um, uh, actually felt I was a good person and liked me on this chat room, and people were, though everyone was there for the same thing. Ultimately, that wasn't always the topic of conversation, and things were friendly, and I had, even though I'd separated the two things, eventually I had some self-esteem I didn't realize was attached to that, um, rather than anything else. And yeah, I felt good. I felt good about having someone who cared about me, even though at that point we weren't a couple or even had even met. There was something different about her compared to everyone else on there, and so that became more than just a chat. We'd talk outside of that. Um, became close friends. Shared everything except what I'd buried. And she made me feel good about myself. Genuinely, most wonderful person I've ever met. And yeah, life was looking good. Wasn't putting my eggs in all that one basket at that point, but knew that if there was anything ever going to happen, it would probably at that point it would be with her. Anything more than meaningless stuff. And at this point, like I said, I still had all my core values, and yet they were in contrast with what I was doing. And she still accepted me as a person. So that's who I thought I was. That's where I'd always been. Um, yeah, obviously was slipping down this path that I didn't really understand. I wasn't even aware of what was going on, that it was slipping down this path. It was just what I was doing. Was, didn't see any red lights or anything, warnings at this point. Um, anyway, eventually my parents moved abroad, and moved in with my best friend, and had a couple of hookups or whatever, and before that, and but I was excited finally for I finally felt strong, finally felt excited for life. Didn't feel I needed anybody, and or needed anything. Felt like although I was lacking a relationship and love and that sort of intimacy, it was ultimately what I thought was comfortable. I was okay with myself while still having this shame and doubt about what I was doing at a deep level, and getting more and more uncomfortable with it. And then finally met my future wife, and we hit it off just as well in person as we were doing on line chatting. It was just the same. We were best friends, and quickly, more than that, first time I'd ever felt completely myself with anyone. Like I said, I wasn't really hiding anything at this point. She knew the majority of things. Anything I did was hiding, I felt, was just what I'd always hidden, so it really wasn't um, um, a big deal. And then then we became exclusive, and so we call it, and things were going great. Really for a good 2.5 years. And then, just as in my previous relationship, my flashbacks and issues started happening again. I kind of I kind of shut down. Although she didn't have the same response as my previous partner to my issues, I um, couldn't talk about what those flashbacks. I was too ashamed of what was there and too ashamed of who I was. That level. And an absolutely paralyzing fear would come over me. Whenever it happened, it was affecting. Though I wanted to talk to her about it, I just felt like she wouldn't accept me just like anybody else. And so I just ignored it and pretended that there was other reasons um, for my issues, and sadly she probably felt that she was responsible when it wasn't the case, because I couldn't talk about it. But what happened from then was the porn addiction um, would escalate to a point where it was a compulsion to to just cover up, not numb everything. And yeah, it went from that to going back to the chat room. Just in my head, I was telling myself it was um, just to chat, catch up with people. Then I'd stop. Things would be going well again. Flashbacks would happen again. Issues would happen again, and I just shut down again, withdrew, and pretended that nothing was wrong. But each time the behaviour would get worse, to the point that I was now cheating, not physically, but chatting to people, saying things. I'd feel ashamed stop. So at least tell myself, at least I didn't cross the line physically. But I wouldn't be able to stop this behaviour. It would just keep coming back because I'd be more ashamed. I need to stop that shame, cover that shame, that pain, and eventually, with the porn addiction and that combined, I found social media for porn stars and models, and ended up obsessed with that. Ended up at this point, I kind of split entirely. My life became a dual life, a double life. The life I wanted, the life I loved, I cling to, and this compulsive, destructive obsession that I couldn't control, and I started meeting and paying for sex. Nothing illegal. It was because it wasn't technically prostitution. It was because I was filming it, and there's loopholes. I gave myself all sorts of justifications, and tell myself I wasn't cheating. It's amazing what your brain can do when it's addicted to something. Deceive. Basically, was lying to myself to allow myself to continue the behavior to the point where I completely, this fantasy life had become a second life, and completely tripped into my real life. Was slowly destroying everything, and I couldn't face the pain, the shame. I couldn't face it, admitting and hating my wife. It wasn't my wife at the first started, but eventually did. Which shows you how deluded I really was. So I'd let it get to that point. Trying to explain the thinking involved with that is it's difficult. I mean, the level of denial, the level of what is called cognitive distortions, which is similar to what you would get with mental illnesses like depression, where the brain lies to you on a constant basis to justify things. It was complete insanity. I descended into complete insanity in a way. Well, it was. And the stress and anxiety of that, and the shame completely destroying all my values. Not being able to face not just what it's done to my wife, but what it done to my whole life before that, like everything I'd stood for, everything I valued. I couldn't, and because of the behaviour I'd had in the past of burying and avoiding things, rather than facing them and being honest, and asking for help. I'm completely unable to do that. I couldn't figure it out. I thought I had the control over things. I thought I was able to stop. I thought I could do anything. It was completely deluded. Got myself in a massive amount of debt in the last year or two. Before that, I was spending money, but I wasn't ever taking money out to pay for anything. It just shows the escalation of it, which this addiction does do. Now I know more about it. That's exactly what happens. same way a gambler, someone with a gambling addiction, continues to get in further and further in debt, trying to deal with the problem, completely ignorant of what was going on. Yeah, it would escalate to the point where I was one person wasn't enough. Um, it was, more and more people, more and more regularly. I was messaging people all the time, becoming more and more isolated, hating myself more and more. Cutting myself off from all my friends, knowing that full well if and when, because it was a case of when really this came out. I kept telling myself if and saying that I was, it's the lies you tell yourself when you're deluded like this, so that it was protecting people, or that I was protecting myself, or that I had control over it, and it was, I could, if I just pretend it didn't happen, didn't happen. Like I said, separating the two, I could become a Jekyll and Hyde, two different people. One I hated and loathed, and one I slowly saw dying. So his behaviour got worse, and it was affecting my health. The stress and the anxiety, the lies, the pain of that. Something I'd never actively doing on a daily basis. And just complete disintegration of who I was, who I thought I am. I'll say was now, I don't know who I am now. And eventually, the time I started directly lying to my wife when she would catch things, really badly, I will add, because I'm a terrible liar in person. But she blindly trusted me, which is makes it even worse for me. So I truly loved me, and I couldn't honour that, respect that, even though I wanted to. Even though everything in me loved her, I couldn't stop this behaviour. And I couldn't understand it. I couldn't reason with it. Whenever the reality of it would hit, I would turn to it more because it was the only way of numbing it, stopping the pain. And it's just spiraling out of control. And I completely ashamed of it all. Just to myself in general, just deep, deep shame killing me inside. It, it came to a head in December last year. I finally found some messages on my laptop, and finally knew I'd cheated on her, betrayed her. At this point, I knew my whole world collapsed, and I knew the reality hit me slap in the face, and I completely disintegrated, and I was tired of lying, and still couldn't face it, couldn't own it, couldn't talk about it. I was too ashamed, too broken. All the guilt and shame that I should have felt more during the whole process came crashing down on me. It wasn't shame or guilt of being caught. I was relieved, if anything, because now I had no choice but to face the reality. Yet absolutely devastated and destroyed by it. And over the course of about 2 or 3 days, he slowly revealed the full extent of everything, with the debt, there's videos of everything, because that's what I was doing. It was all on a hard drive. There's all the truths on there, which she looked at, and which obviously she was devastated by, and understandably decided there and then I was not worth anything. Not worth it. The marriage was not worth it. I'm not worth it. Not that I don't understand that, but obviously I'm devastated. Never thought I'd be in this position. Told me 10 years ago, I would have laughed in your face. 40 years old now, and all my dreams are shattered. I've got nothing really left. My self-esteem or value in life. Severely depressed, and anxiety runs through my life every day, all day. Paranoid, ashamed, all the time. And it's devastating, not just because of how I feel, but what I've done to her, which is just like 10 times worse than all the stuff put together that happened to me. I don't understand it. Can't rationalize any of it now. Could have seemed to be able to at the time, and caught up in it. That's how much it warps your mind. And I'm literally at rock bottom now. I've been for 6 months, hasn't been a day I haven't wept uncontrollably multiple times in 6 months. She moved out a couple of weeks ago. It's horrible, devastating. Worst thing in the world that I could ever imagine is, I always thought I had this naive dream when I was growing up and through my teens, 20s, even before all this happened, that I'd meet that one person and that would be it. It'd be all right, and things, everything would be great. I'd get married, have kids, have a family. Only dreams I ever had was to be loved and have a family. And now I don't think I'm even worth being friends with, let alone loved by anyone. And hasn't been a day, but out those 6 months I haven't thought about killing myself. I did, as soon as that happened, the reality hit. Finally, took some action about the whole thing. Put things in place to stop me accessing porn. When I realised just how much effect that had on the whole thing, I doubt without that the sex addiction would really have happened, but who knows? Can't really say. There's a whole bunch of what ifs. But from there, I in a complete messed up haze, tried to just put things in place to stop the behaviour. I mean, the devastation of it was enough to, I know, get me through a certain period of time. I'm absolutely repulsed by my behaviour now, which should have been there beforehand. I can't believe it wasn't. It always had been throughout most of my life. And ironically now, can't even though I no longer have a wife, she's left. Can't even imagine being with anyone else. And it's just ironic considering my behaviour, but yeah, it's devastating on so many levels. Every level imaginable. It's affected every area of my life. I'm still working, but it's affecting my work. So the depression is completely kicking my ass. Anxiety is the worst it's ever been in my life. And that's saying something, considering my childhood, and I'm completely overwhelmed by all the memories of that childhood. Like I said, I buried all that underneath this addiction, and now it's just there and raw and tearing through me every day. New memories that I buried, nightmares every night, trouble sleeping, waking up with panic attacks, having trouble weeping both in my sleep and when awake. Basically put on a brave face to go to work. I hate every minute of it because I don't want to be around people. But doing this out, obviously, it's a necessity at this point. Feel like all my relationships have completely been broken by it. Disconnected, feel completely isolated, disconnected from everyone. Even those like my family, who immediate family and best friend who stood by me. Feels like I've damaged those relationships beyond repair. They tell me they love me a million times. I just don't believe it. At this point, those feelings of being unlovable do not feel ever redeemable. I don't feel redeemable. I feel like I should be dead, to be honest. In other cultures or in previous history, I would be dead long before now, just for my acts, and don't think I deserve any less than that. To be honest, it will probably be a gift to be not suffering what I am suffering from for it. No matter what, and I'm not even thinking about what I've done to others. With her, particularly my wife, suffering. Like I said, don't blame her for leaving me. Hurts like hell. It's just another person who's abandoned me and rejected me. First one with good cause, but it's just as bad, if not worse, because I did this. Can't understand why I've sabotage my own life. Can't understand why couldn't allow myself to be happy. Can't understand why this whole thing had to happen in the first place. Why I couldn't stop. Like I said, in the previous videos, I am in therapy and I'm understanding myself more than I ever have. But it's just brings a whole lot more pain. Shame is on a level I've never felt in my life. Like I said, I've got the abuse, which is I buried more than anything. Was the vocal crux of the whole behaviour, I believe. Just sort of, I couldn't face that or telling anyone that. And that behaviour became more important than facing it. It was easier to lie and deal with that shame than dealing with the shame of the abuse, which is messed up. Like I said, I blame myself for all of it. Some of that wasn't my fault, but the majority, like I said, the choices I made, I'm ultimately responsible for. I may not be responsible for how I got there, but I made the choices nonetheless. I just feel done. I'm exhausted, emotionally, mentally, physically. Don't feel like there's much point in going on. Don't feel like I have any future, like anyone would ever want to be with someone like me. I mean, like, even if I recover from it, I can never say over 100% certainty it'll never happen again, because I can't do that. It's happened and I had no, I've lost full control over it, was in denial, so it could happen again. Do my best to be open and honest with everybody. Don't want to lie about anything anymore. Don't want to pretend. That includes telling people that I'm fucked. I'm screwed up, basically. I don't see any way forward. Living one day at a time, barely getting through those. It's been hell, and it looks like it's always going to be. I literally hate myself every day. All those years building myself up and trying to deal with these things, be a good person, just feel like a waste of time. Like this behaviours, this addiction's completely destroyed 35 years of good behaviour. Makes it irrelevant. And yeah, I just feel like that worthless piece of crap that was always told I was, and that I've proven that now. So what's the point? I was never going to be perfect, but I never thought I'd fall this far. Wish I'd be able to talk about my problems and my issues earlier in my life. Whole world of regrets. but they are. At this point, I'm just trying to put things together for whatever scenario. You know, these videos are here for the truth and how, and I don't ever want, no matter what, I don't ever want to go back. It terrifies me. Life terrifies me now. I said those 6 months I've been what would be called sober. 95% of the time, slip's been minimal and comparatively nothing. There have been a couple, but it's I've not acted out in any way. But that just feels like meaningless compared to the destruction that my life currently is. It looks like it always will be. I don't see a future. I don't see how anyone could love me now. I don't see. I just see myself in my worst fears. It's always been. I'll die a sad, lonely, depressed, broken man, and that's all it looks like it could be to me. And having the faith or hope for anything else just is, even if it briefly comes, just disappears. But this is the truth, and I'm fighting with all I can. It just doesn't feel like it's ever going to be enough. So that's where I'm at. Follow this up with videos more detail on both porn and sex addiction, and also my feelings. Some more depth on some of the abuse. I've written poetry, prose about that to try and deal with it. At least get a handle on it. But yeah, I'm rock bottom, and I don't know if I'll ever be out of it. To be honest, I'd probably deserve to be. That's how I feel anyway. So my own worst critic, but so there's plenty of people right now who could think even worse of myself. So yeah, it's long dark road ahead.